Well, what's going on, everybody? Stocks on the rocks. Get that music on out of here. What's going on? Got some folks coming in from the waiting room. Let's give them a second. Welcome to happy hour, open office hours, Traders Army. Let's see. Yeah, more people coming in from the waiting room. Give them a second here. So how y'all doing? By the way, I will say with caution, we have it's happy hour, it's office hours. We don't often have everyone's cameras on, microphones on, things like that. But in the event that you guys want to share, you guys want to have your cameras on, we'll have a little of that. Great. And I say that with caution because this is open to Traders Army members and the general public. And so we've had issues in the past with the general public not behaving like adults. So if you can behave like an adult, you want to, you don't have to turn the camera on. You don't have to. I'm just saying this is the opportunity to do so, so we can see each other if you want. But yeah, doesn't have to. Tell Messina, no problem. Life is good. Glad to hear that. All right. So it is Thursday night. Every other Thursday, we host an office hours happy hour, call it. It is happy hour, 5 o'clock somewhere. It's 5 o'clock in Southern California. So yeah, let's enjoy. Um, so what I'll do is I'll start out, do a little housekeeping and kind of explain for those of you who are brand new, if you've not been to one of our office hours happy hour before, this is a general open Q&A session. Traders Army, we host 8 trading rooms a week where as instructors, we bring trading ideas. We look to place live trades in the market. The markets are open or about to open if we do our early morning pre-market trading rooms. And we do all the leading and the hosting and the sharing of ideas. And, you guys bring ideas as well sometimes, which is really great. Love doing that. But those trading rooms are instructor driven. These sessions are not instructor driven. I'll host them and I will be your coach for the night. But I don't come planned with anything to talk about. We do that all week. So we hope that you come to the session with something that you want to talk about. Questions, trading challenges, trading successes, trading failures, trading whatever, investing. You want to talk about, I don't care, you can talk about anything you want, actually. It doesn't have to be trading related if you don't want to. We could talk music. We could talk cars. I don't know anything about cars, but maybe you guys do. We just kind of open the space to just have a community powwow. And that's what office hours is. That's what Stocks on the Rocks is all about. So this session is designed to last anywhere between 5 minutes, which is my basically opening monologue here, my housekeeping, all the way up to about an hour. Um, and usually we go the whole hour. We rarely ever cut it short because you guys always have great questions. We get into some deep stuff, deep conversations, and then all before you know it, that hour is up. But if you guys run out of questions, um, then I'll give you the rest of the evening back. But Carl, kicking it off with a great question. Have I explored the nuances of saving a workspace, grid, or style within Thinkorswim? Carl, great question. And the answer is all the time. So let me go ahead and share my Thinkorswim. Ta-da. Okay, and I'll show you what I'm doing. So there's a couple different charting aspects to this platform, as we know, right? So you have, and I see a lot of people just have one chart up on there, and then they'll say, okay, well, this is my daily chart by this D up here, and then I want to switch to a weekly chart, so I'll just change it to that. And I want to go to an hourly chart, so I'll change it to that, and that's great, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. So when I go through and I scan my watch list every morning and I'm looking for positions to, consider taking, what I'll do is I actually set mine up in a grid, and I've got this grid over here changed. Now, how do you set up a grid? Because if you just have one chart, then there's you just bounce back and forth between time frames. But what I like to do, because I use both daily charts and weekly charts to look for bigger picture trend, context that I'm operating in, and then I'm on the daily chart looking for levels to trade off of. And those are my two primary trading time frames. I want to have them side by side so I can take a quick look side by side. And so what you can do is you can come up here in the top right hand corner. And by the way, I'm going to turn my video off for a second because I know Zoom is going to put my video right over this area on the top right hand side. So I'm going to turn it off for the purpose of this discussion so my video is not blocking that section. So I'm going to disappear for a second. And that's back on the recording. That's not live. So on the recording, this is going to be blocked. So now it's not because I turned my video off. But up here beside the words main chart to the right, you'll see this little drop down menu, which just has one rectangle in it. But if you open that up, you can see that you actually have this little grid section here. And by the way, if I just hover my cursor over that, I can select to show a grid, which is basically two charts. I can show four charts, six charts, nine charts, 12 charts. I don't even know how many that is, but you can have as many charts on the screen as you want, which is what I use for like tracking some of our trading room portfolios and our wealth essentials portfolios. And I keep all the charts kind of in one, and then we can expand them and go through them one at a time. My main chart is two grid windows. And so what this does is this allows me to put a daily chart on one side and a weekly chart on the other. And so when you establish, okay, these are the two that I want, then what you do is you come down and you save your grid, call it whatever you want, okay, and then save it, and that allows you to go from a broad market grid where I can see all the futures that I monitor each day at one time, grid of ETFs, my main chart, and I can recall them, and I can have whatever grid that I want. That's just chart grids. That's one of the things that you talked about is grids. And so in each one of those grids, now I have an opportunity to say, okay, on my daily chart, I want to see volume MACD, implied volatility, and CCI. But on my weekly chart, implied volatility doesn't even populate, so I don't really need to see that. So then I can grab and take a different style of chart within the grid, and I can say, okay, instead of looking at just in the same old chart that like my main chart, I can just say, well, I'm going to only look at, let's just say, price only. And let's say I just want to look at price only. And then on the left, I've got all my indicators I like to use. And on the right, I have no indicators. I just have price, right? And then I would save that as a grid style. So yeah, I use grids all the time. I use grids for sector relative strength, right? So I have a monthly that goes back and anchors from 1 month ago to show me how each sector in the S&P 500 is performing relative to the S&P 500 itself. I have one that shows me a 3 month anchor point and a 6 month look back anchor point. And so I use grids all the time for these purposes. And then, of course, I have different styles of charts as well. So if I go back to my main chart, which has my two grids, if I want to look at my daily chart, what I can do is I can either say, hey, I want a bigger daily chart. I don't want the daily chart and the weekly chart to be the same size. I can actually drag this little slider in the middle and say, give me a condensed weekly chart with a big daily chart. I could do that. I could say, right click on the daily chart if that's the one I want to see really big, and I can maximize that cell, and that'll just show me the daily. And now what you notice up here next to that grid box is I have two arrows now. So now what I can do is I can say, okay, full screen daily, go to the weekly, full screen weekly, go back to the daily, full screen daily, go back to the weekly, full screen weekly, right? So, and then if I want to get back to my two chart grid, I can just right click, restore those cells, and it takes me back to my main window. Okay. And I can choose any style of chart in either window because both charts, both windows, both grids are independent of one another. But the one thing that I always want to make sure of is I want to make sure that when I link my watch lists, right? So if I click on gold, for instance, I want gold to come up in both grid windows. And so this symbol linking, I'll make sure that it's linked to, I use the first number one, and first number one. And now anytime I click on something on the in the watch list, it brings up that stock in both windows. Okay. So it's incredibly convenient when I'm scanning, a couple hundred stocks in the morning and I'm just kind of going down the list. I can see daily on the left, weekly on the right, and I have a quick reference of trading zones and context, which is my trend on the right. So that's using grids and styles. Love that. Now, I've only recently started using workspace customization. And the reason I've started to do that is every morning, especially when I'm holding a trading room, I want to be able to have my charts in one screen. So I'll detach my charts, right? So you can come up here under one of these hamburger menus and detach. So now I've got my charts, right? Floating charts in its own window. And in my main Thinkorswim, I can keep on my Analyze tab, I can keep my option chain up. So I want to have my charts beside. So at the risk of making everything really small in your chart, I'm going to expand this zoom window. So watch this, right? So now I can put my charts over here. I can go back and I can use my option grid on my option chain on the left. And now when I'm scrolling down my watch list, for instance, I can not only see the option chain at the same time, right? So I can expand these August options, for instance. I can see my option chain. And as I scroll down my watch list, I've got weekly chart, daily chart, option chain. So now I don't even have to switch tabs. Okay. I'll also have a separate window with my order entry so I can see my orders, my working and my working orders. So I'll have another window for that. So every morning up until not too long ago, actually, I would every morning have to detach my charts, detach my monitor tab for all my orders, move everything to the appropriate place that I like to work on my screen. And by the way, I have a 49-inch wide curved screen, so I can stretch this out another 10 inches to the right. And you can see my whole doggone screen, but that's going to look difficult. It's going to be difficult to see. It's going to be difficult if you've got a small laptop screen at home. So I don't present like this, right? But I use my whole screen every morning. So what I do is I say, okay, while I'm going through and scanning, now I can go up to my setup tab, and I'm going to actually detach that. I'm going to come over here, and you see this. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller so you guys can see this and zoom in. Give me 1 second. 1 second, 1 second. And now under this setup tab, you can save an entire workspace, right? So the workspace is if you've detached a bunch of windows that go to separate monitors and you want that look sometimes, but you don't want that same workspace all the time, as I do, then I can save a workspace. That's when I do a trading room. I want screen, one screen, and then I want one, which I have a floating one over here with just my orders. So I'm monitoring my orders in one screen in one detached window, and I'm doing all my work in one Thinkorswim window. But then when I go to and I'm doing my full work and I'm scanning, I'll choose Setup, Multi-Window. And multi-window resets and gives me, check this out, my orders, my option chain, and all my charts, and that stretches out over my entire screen. And so the workspace function, and I can say, okay, just go back to a single window. And now I'm back to a single window. So that workspace function is actually pretty cool when you have different layouts that you want to use, depending upon what your workflow is trying to be at that time. Does that make sense, Carl? I mean, hopefully I answered the question that you were actually asking. Yeah, yeah, pretty cool. I also found that because I just had to reset my entire main, desktop computer because I reluctantly upgraded to the latest Mac operating system, and it broke some of my audio recording software that was not ready for that update for the operating system. So I had to roll back an operating system, which means I had to wipe my hard drive and start all over. And my workspaces were not transferring over from the cloud, which Thinkorswim is a web-based platform. So my workspaces were not transferring over. So I went to my laptop, which is over behind my drum set over here. I use that to kind of control my audio system when I'm recording drums. And I went to my laptop and I went into the Thinkorswim file, like the folder, which is in my applications. Go down to Thinkorswim. There we are. And then notice I've got all my workspaces saved to my local machine. So I was like, man, I don't want to have to rebuild all my workspaces and all this kind of stuff. So what I did is I put all those workspaces from my laptop into a Dropbox folder, which is on both computers. When that Dropbox folder synced, I just basically took those workspaces and I dragged them into my Thinkorswim folder on my desktop, closed Thinkorswim, relaunched Thinkorswim, and all my workspaces that I had been using and all my charts and all my settings and everything was back to the way that I'm used to without having to reset everything up. Incredible time saver. Kind of a big deal. Great question, Carl. Yeah. But yeah, that answer your question? Yeah, man, my pleasure. Yeah, there's things in the Thinkorswim platform that, I mean, I've been using this platform for, I mean, in January will be my 20-year trading anniversary, starting trading January. That's when I started my journey learning how to trade, going to school for it and all that stuff. And I was using a broker at that time called Options Express. They're not around anymore. They've been gone for a long time. Somebody bought them. I think Scott Trade bought them out, and then somebody bought Scott Trade and all that kind of stuff. But anyhow, and when Options Express became too limiting for what I wanted to try to do, and they were expensive commissions. I mean, my commissions at Options Express carried at the time carried a ticket charge plus a per contract options commission. And the ticket charge was $12.50 per order. So that's $12.50 per order, which means $12.50 to enter, $12.50 to exit, just for the ticket charge. So there's $25 round trip right there. Plus, I want to say it was a 65-cent commission per contract. Now, I wasn't doing that many contracts at that time. And I'm like, man, that is expensive. I mean, I remember my first trade, it wasn't even on options. It was on stock. My very first trade ever was on Apple. I bought 10 shares. And at that time, there was a commission for the shares plus the ticket charge. So my round trip charge was about $27, $28, something like that. Just the ticket charge was 25, plus a little stock commission for the 10 shares that I bought and sold. I made money on the trade. I made $50 on the trade. But when you consider that I paid $27, $28 in commissions, that took 50% of my profit just in commissions. I thought, well, how's that sustainable? And the more I talked to, other traders in the room and some of the instructors, they were like, you got to check out Thinkorswim. And I'm like, great, I got to learn a new platform. I've just learned Options Express. And they're like, it's going to be worth it, I promise. And at that time, Thinkorswim had a $1.25 flat rate per contract, no ticket charge. Um, and I'm like, well, that's going to save me a lot of money. So maybe it is worth it to learn the platform. And then I got into the platform and it allowed me the type of flexibility on my orders, order entry, customization of my charts, um, conditional orders on option positions. I mean, I could create anything that my brain could dream up at the time. I could create an order out of it, and I'm like, yeah, this is a better place, and I'm not, getting raped on commissions. I think this is going to be a good move, and I did, and that was 19 years ago, and it's been my primary trading platform for my personal accounts and family accounts and all that kind of stuff for the last 19 years. I have to use Interactive Brokers because I am a portfolio manager and managing partner of a hedge fund. Also with Chuck, who's a partner at TradersArmy. And so we have to use Interactive Brokers for that because of their reporting and the administrator that we use to take our monthly performance and report to investors every month. And Interactive Brokers is better at at uh, at offering machine readable files for the administrator to do what they do efficiently, where Thinkorswim doesn't do that, right? They only offer PDF statements. And so IB is, how do I put it? IB, the only thing that I like about them is that my administrator can do the work efficiently because they offer machine readable files that my administrator can put into their systems and kick out investor statements within a day or two of month close. Um, and the only other thing that I like about Interactive Brokers is that they offer it fluctuates with interest rates, but the cash that's sitting in the account that's not being used for positions, they offer a high interest bearing return because they do a cash sweep every night into like, I don't know, like 10 different banks. And I think we get a little over like 4%, something like that, give or take, depending upon what interest rates are, like 4.25%. I don't know what they are today, but yeah, we were getting a little while ago, we were getting as high as 4.5% interest on the cash in the account. And we use portfolio margin in the fund, so we have a lot of cash, but we're using 3 times 3x leverage on our option positions. So we still have a lot of cash sitting in the account because we use portfolio margin. So we get a good return on interest. Other than that, that platform is hands down the most difficult, the most frustrating platform to learn and use. It is not my favorite, but it is what it is. Their charts, don't like them. They have barely any options analytics, and good luck figuring out how to use them. Um, yeah, that's all they're good for. So I use Thinkorswim for all the analysis, and then we just execute the trades in the fund. For my own trading, my own personal accounts, I do everything in Thinkorswim. Thomasina, next time I'll come prepared with some Thinkorswim questions. Awesome. And by the way, Thomasina, we have you're a member of Traders Army, I believe. Not everybody in the room right now is a member. And so we do have, if I can show you real quick, this goes for everybody, even non-members. Why not? Even with a free account, you get this. So if we go to our on-demand trading courses under what we do, all this stuff with our strategic trader course, tactical reinforcements, options plus, wealth essentials, tactical futures, crypto, those are all part of the on-demand. Those are part of the on-demand or pro membership. But the platform tutorials are available if you're just a free member. So you'll notice that 90% of them are Thinkorswim, right? So I did a insanely comprehensive three-part platform immersion. And then a bunch how to set up sector comparison charts, setting up broad market percentage comparison chart, uh, a bunch of order. This is all order entry stuff. This is a deep dive into the trade analysis tab for analyzing risk profiles and what ifs on your trades, all kinds of stuff. Building custom scans. That's not as new as it says it is, but it is the newest one that I did. So these are all, and so I would watch these, and that'll probably answer 90% of your questions. But like the one that Carl asked earlier, I don't go over, much of that stuff. I go over until I kind of skim the surface on chart grids, but I don't go into workspace, grids and things like that. But so check those out. If you haven't seen them already, then that's it. Bennett says TOS allows export of data. Is that different from to machine readable? Yeah, so they do. So TOS does allow you to export certain data, but it's not all the data that our administrator needs to build our investor reports and track our performance um, throughout the year. Because what ends up happening, I don't know if you know this, but at the end of the year, we have an independent auditor that needs to grab all of our files that our administrator has been collecting all year to build our data pool, and then they audit every transaction and the performance and everything. And that audit has to be that's done by our auditor, third party auditor. Um, and then they build a report that then gets sent to all the investors. So TOS does a little bit of that, but they don't do it to the extent that a regulated hedge fund that has to be audited each year and all that. They don't do it nearly to the extent. That's one thing. Second thing is Thinkorswim, which is a Schwab broker. They don't allow hedge funds to have accounts at Schwab. You would need to be a registered investment advisor, which is different than a hedge fund, which is advisor exempt. Like we don't have to have the same licenses that are registered that an RIA would have to have. And there's no way around that because Schwab just they only allow RIAs to have accounts at Schwab, and then you're using ThinkPipes. You're not even using Thinkorswim, which is the advisor version of Thinkorswim. Yeah, it gets tricky, Bennett, and there's some good stuff that comes out of out of that. It's just not enough. And by the way, I've been desperately trying to figure out how can we move the fund over to Schwab, and they're like, you can't do it unless you want to get all these licenses. And I'm like, okay, well then what happens? And then okay, so we'll get licensed. What license do we need to have? And the RAA, says that we have to have certain licenses. And then we talk to our attorneys, and they're like, yeah, well, if you do that, now you're going to lose exemptions that you qualify for with FINRA and the SEC, and that's going to take you down a whole nother path. And we're like, forget it. We'll deal with Interactive Brokers. There's a reason that hedge funds and institutions use Interactive Brokers, and that's it. We're just kind of stuck. But I would never do trade analysis in Interactive Brokers. They just don't have those types of tools that let us do that efficiently. Cool questions, though. This is fun. Did I take any exams to start your hedge fund? No. You don't have to be licensed to start a hedge fund. You don't have to take any tests. Um, that's the thing. It's basically a limited partnership. That's all it is. It's a limited partnership. Um, and so we're exempt from having to be licensed as an advisor. But what that means is we have an LLC, which is the general partner. So myself, Chuck, and we have one more other partner. We are the general partner, which is the investment manager of the fund. And then the fund is a pool of money. And when you pool money as a fund, it's a little bit different than the advisory service because we're not advising, we're trading. And the investors don't have access to the account to see what and when we're trading and all that kind of stuff. The general partner only has oversight on all that. And then at the end of the month, we submit. So, well, actually, our administrator just has back end access to all the machine readable data they need to get to report to the investors monthly, quarterly, annually, all that stuff. What does TOS charge to get level 4 data? Level 4 data? What do you mean by level 4 data? What do you mean by that? I know level 3, like market depth stuff, but um, I don't even, do they offer active trading by institutions? I don't think, do they offer that? I don't know that they do. I mean, I could be wrong, but that would be new to me. You mean like dark pool access and things like that? 'Cause I don't know that they offer that. Yeah, I've not heard of that through Thinkorswim. Well, you know who might know? Chat GPT. What does can does Think or Swim offer? I mean, I honestly don't. I mean, yeah, it does not offer. There it is. I didn't think so. But Choss doesn't charge for any feeds unless you're registered as a um, professional, which is tricky because if you trade a LLC or some corporation or some entity, then they will charge you, I believe it's $125 a month to have the same data that a non-entity would get for free. So I'm not sure that that would be useful anyway because I don't know. First of all, um, institutional platforms, so interactive brokers, TradeStation, institutional platforms have a function that allows you to hide your order flow. So it doesn't even send it to where it's even going to get picked up by, what you're referring to. So they can hide order flow and create these iceberg orders that even what you pay for is not the total view. It'll never be. Um, so I don't know that that would even be useful, even if that were there, because a lot of times they're hiding order flow. I mean, I don't, you're getting into like, I don't know, it's certainly immoral, but definitely possibly illegal activity with spoofing, meaning, if I have the ability to say on the, so you have your bid and your ask, right? And if I have the ability to say, and the ask is where you'll see the buy orders, the bid is where you'll see the sell orders, right? And so, if I'm looking to manipulate public perception or institutional perception, right? Goldman Sachs might want to manipulate what JP Morgan perceives, for instance, right? But it's more likely that JP Morgan wants to influence what the public sees and take advantage of the public's perception. If I had the ability to hide orders, what I would do is I would say, okay, if I want to buy this stock and I want to get a good price, and a good price for me is going to be a lower price. What I would do is I would place, say, a 200,000 share sell order that's visible by everyone. And what that would do is it would drive a perception that, oh my gosh, that's going to drive prices lower. So I better start selling. which will potentially, likely drive prices lower. But on the ask side, I might have a 500,000 share order, but instead of showing all 500,000, I'll show 50,000. So you don't see 450,000 shares that someone's willing to buy. All you see is 200,000 shares willing to sell and 50,000 shares willing to buy, which is a perceived imbalance, right? So that type of data can be manipulated by institutional platforms. Thinkorswim does not have that option to hide orders. Interactive Brokers does. Level 2 is not going to show any of that. Level 3 is not going to show that. Nope. It's not going to show that. They're hidden. They just don't go to the market. And they don't go. And now eventually they will show up, but it's like tomorrow, not real time. Not real time. So it's deceiving. Whoa. You hear my dog barking? I think my son just came home. Um, hey, hang on one second. Oh, my thing was back on. Let me shut my door here. Oh, right. Yep. Son came home with friends. So dog starts barking. Had to shut the door to the studio so they don't interrupt our happy hour. So, it's great discussion. I love it. But does that make sense, Bennett? Like, I don't trust any of that. The reason why we focus on charts and charts alone is that um, the chart can't lie about what's going on, right? But data packages can be deceiving. They can not tell the whole story. Therefore, yeah, I don't know that it's worth paying for it. But Ben also says, without making a big deal about it, I sat on a day trading seminar that seemed to imply that data for trading plans. Are they selling the data? If they're selling the data, I'd try to make a big deal about it too, maybe. Yeah. So the point is, it's not the whole truth. There might be some truth to it, but it's not the whole truth. Right. Um, and I don't know that it would ever be the whole truth. There's all kinds of stuff hidden in the background that is just not there. Right. There's this there's something else out there that's, again, it's it's a little bit closer to the truth, I think, but still something that I'm getting a little bit deeper into lately, which is, using options dealer positions. So options dealers and market makers have to provide uh, liquidity. And if you've got a bunch of people out there buying options, whether it's calls or puts, then the dealer has to sell them, right? And they take on this delta risk. But really what they're taking on is potential gamma risk as well. And so if a dealer is short a whole bunch of put contracts or long a bunch of call contracts, or any contracts, and they start stacking up a lot of long positions or short positions at a very specific set of strikes, so that you can see an open interest, then the dealer has to take all the other side of that, and then they become delta exposed. So in order to not have and by the way, it's by law, the dealers have to hedge that delta, because you can't afford for the dealers and the market makers to be on the wrong side of retail trades, because it could blow up dealer accounts and shut the whole market down. So the dealers and the market makers have to hedge all their options positions, all of them, using stock or futures. And so if there is a massive amount of option open interest where dealers are long calls, long puts, short calls, short puts, there is something to, there are these stacks of open interest where dealers are going to have to take buy or sell actions on the underlying in order to maintain a delta neutral position because their gamma risk is actually getting too big. Gamma exposure is too big. And if they don't hedge immediately, they start to have this gamma acceleration that hurts their portfolio, and they're not legally allowed to have any delta risk. So therefore, the theory is, and I'm actually, I actually believe this theory, is that option the options market can actually drive what actually happens in the stock market, not the other way around. But that's different than what you're talking about. That's using the options market to predict stock movement. Stock turning points or stock acceleration points is looking at gamma exposure. And you can see open interest, which is not manipulatable. It's delayed by a day, but you can't manipulate options open interest. When a contract is opened or closed, the open interest gets updated the next day. So it's not real time. But if there's large stacks of open interest at certain strike prices, then dealers have to behave a very specific way to hedge that gamma and delta risk. But again, that's not what you're talking about. That's something different. But can move markets, does move markets. I've seen it. It's like amazing. But it's a newer thing for me. Like even 20 years later, I'm still learning stuff. And so that's one thing that I'm still learning about, which is why I don't present on that often, because I don't want to present wrong information while I'm still digging into it. Nothing worse than someone you trust giving you wrong information. So I'm not going to be that guy. But yeah, just things to consider, Bennett. I appreciate the discussion, though. I love it. Just things to think about. All right. What else y'all got? Got 20 minutes left before the top of the hour. Unless you guys want to cut it off early, which I don't know about that. You guys don't want to do that, do you? All right, Bennett, what do you got for a chart? I got to blow it up. It's a little bit blurry. Is this a volume chart? I notice you're using TradeStation. TradeStation gives you volume charts. Is that what that is? Can't quite tell, but it looks like it. Yeah, it's TradeStation. And TradeStation offers a unique look at volume charts. So each candle is not based upon time or ticks. Each candle is formed based on volume. Those are pretty cool. TradeStation is, I don't know if they're the only ones who offer that, but those can be pretty cool. They offer some pretty good insight. But I don't look at the volume specifically. I still use looking at support and resistance and supply and demand as it applies to volume charts. It looks like that might be what you're looking at. But see all this size over here? So this ask size, bid size. The sheer fact that TradeStation has a button in the order entry window that says hide order and you can choose how much to hide makes me not trust the ladder over there, the dome. Can't trust it. TradeStation has that button. I've used it. Not for personal, use because I'm not because when I was using TradeStation from a education standpoint, when I was with another school teaching, I wasn't doing, I didn't have the hedge fund. and I wasn't doing the kind of size that really mattered if I hide orders or not. Um, but that button is there and it's available to everyone. Yeah, TradeStation is by the way, TradeStation has fantastic charts. Love their charts. In fact, I got now I'm on a Mac. I'm on an Apple computer. So TradeStation doesn't work natively on a Mac, so I never use TradeStation. Um, and I could never really effectively use TradeStation, but when I was teaching, I had a PC laptop that I would carry around, and I actually really liked their charts. They were really easy to move around, navigate, manipulate. I think they're great for options. I think they tie up a lot of margin for futures, not as much as Schwab, but they still tie up quite a bit. Um, and they don't offer nearly the extensive um, conditional type orders that I would need for options. So I could never trade options with them the way that I trade spreads because I don't trade a lot of single leg positions. I trade a lot of spreads, and there's not a lot of flexibility on the spread side of things um, when uh, when it comes to TradeStation. But they're great for stocks, good for futures unless their margin requirements inflate. But their charts are hands down probably some of the best. I mean, them TradingView. E-Signal used to be great. I don't even know if E-Signal's still around. I mean, Thinkorswims are great, but there were certain features like navigation features that were really great about TradeStation that I really did like, but I'm not moving to a PC just to use TradeStation. No Windows for me. Trader Bill, I've heard several recommend AMP Futures. That's who you're talking about, right? AMP Futures. I've never traded with them, but yeah, they win awards like crazy. I've known some people that have traded with them. I don't trade futures. I did for about 3 years, and I hated every second of it, to be honest. I didn't like any of it. I'll tell that story here in a second, but I know some people who have you who use AMP. I know people who've used Infinity, who use NinjaTrader, Trade of Eight, prop firms like Apex and Top Step Trader, things like that. And AMP, in my research on them, they have some of the best margin rates for trading futures. Some of the best. Very high leverage at AMP, and that's great, especially if you don't have a lot of money to trade with. I've heard great things. Tomasina, I miss my Mac. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah, Brandon, you're talking about Wendell? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine he's probably dealt with them. He's probably dealt with Infinity. I'm sure he's dealt with Ninja. I'm sure he's dealt with a lot of different futures brokers just to kind of test things out over time. So yeah, he's probably a good resource for different markets like that. But AMP Futures, yeah, I mean, I look at their website and it doesn't look fancy, but they have incredible margin rates and they win crazy awards. And I think from a customer satisfaction standpoint, I think they do a really good job from what I understand. But I don't have any personal experience with them. Because when I was day trading futures, to answer your question, Bennett, I did get involved in day trading futures. And it wasn't even really because I wanted to, because I started out in options, like I said, almost 20 years ago, because that's what the school that I went to learn trading from, that was their focus, options and stocks. They didn't have a futures course or a forex or cryptocurrency wasn't even around back then, but they didn't have anything else. They focused on stocks and options, and so that's where I started. All my mentors were trading options, and so that's what I traded. But then I started to work and teach for another school that some of you know. Um, and everybody around me was just always talking futures and trading futures. And I'm like, well, I have access to all the futures content. So let me learn more about futures. I'm like, oh, that's exciting. That's cool. Looks like you can make a lot of money. Looks like you don't have to have a lot of money. And it looks like you can do really well. And it's very high speed. It's very active. And so I was like, okay, I finally gave in. And this is probably, I don't know, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, maybe 8 years ago. And I did it for, a few years, 2.5, 3 years, something like that. Um, and it's not that I was bad at it. I was actually decent at it. I was good at it. But I live in California. And for me, my whole life up until I started trading, and I still am this way. I am not a morning person, not even a little bit. And it takes me a while to kind of wake up and get moving. And when I was trading futures, one of the best times, probably the best time to trade futures is going to be around the market open. So economic reports come out at 5:30 my time. And then once you get past like 10:30, things start to slow down and it becomes less ideal to trade futures in that window, like lunchtime. And, then some things might start to pick up in the afternoon. But I'm having to start setting my alarm for 4:45 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning to start wake up, have a couple cups of coffee, get going. I'm a slow goer in the morning. And I'm now responsible for making high speed trading decisions starting at 5:30 in the morning. And I was miserable every day. I hated so much that my alarm was going to go off that early. I went to bed mad that my alarm was going to go off. But I'd get up and I'd do it. I was like, maybe it's worth it. Maybe I'll get used to it. Never got used to it and never liked it one bit. And I was talking to my neighbor one day who doesn't trade. Um, but we were talking, and I don't know how the story came up, but he's an engineer and he's in robotics and all this kind of stuff, and he's worked in shops his whole life. And when he was a teenager, he got a job at a shop, like some workshop. I don't know what it was, a wood shop, some workshop where they built furniture or something like that. I don't know what they did. And he got hired because he wanted to work on the machines and learn that. He wanted to intern and have a job and like be around all this stuff. But the shop owner gave him the job of sweeping the floors and cleaning the place up. And he was really good at it. And he wanted to be really good at it because he was thinking, oh, if I'm really good at this, then I'll see my work ethic and then I can work up and I can get into the shop type stuff and I can start learning the stuff that interests me and the stuff that I want to do because I hate sweeping floors and I hate doing all this stuff. He's like, but I was really good at it. And he's like, I was talking to my dad one day, and he's like, I told my dad how much I hate this, and I can't believe like I have to do this job, and this guy does, I'm doing a great job, and he's like, he doesn't see me, and he doesn't seem like he's that interested in promoting me or putting me somewhere else where my interests lie. And this is the part that got me. His dad said, "Are you good at cleaning the shop?" He's like, "Yes." He's like, "Do you like it?" He's like, "No." And he's like, "Son, let me give you a piece of advice. Don't get good at things you don't like to do. Don't get good at things you don't like to do." And I was like, and the minute he said that, I was like, oh gosh, that's exactly where I'm at right now. Like I'm pretty good at it, but I don't like a second of it. And I told him my story, and he's like, well, he's like, sounds like a lot what I was going through. And so he started doing a worse job and, expressing interest in somewhere else. And he started on purpose, like not doing things very well to try to move somewhere else into a division that he wanted to move in as part of the shop. And eventually he did. And he's like, so with my story, he's like, do you have to trade futures? Like, is that your main source of income? I was like, no. I was like, it's income. It's good income. I was like, but it's the kind of income that I like if I didn't I don't feel like I want to do it. He's like, then why are you doing it? And I'm like, I don't I don't know. And he's like, well, sounds like you're kind of answering, I think internally, I think you're coming to a conclusion here. And I was like, yeah, I think I am. And so from that point forward, I set my alarm for my normal time and I'm like, I'm not doing this. It's not worth it. I'm not happy. I was like, I do well in options, really well in options. And so I don't need it. I was just kind of starting to explore futures because everybody around me seemed to do it. And I don't even know if they like it. Um, so I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. So I stopped and I've been happier ever since. So that's my experience with day trading. Now, I don't, I like to take my time and look at charts and take my time and score everything out and like really just like take my time to build positions. And with day trading, you don't have all the time in the world to do that. It's very high speed. Generally speaking, it's pretty high speed, and it just wasn't my thing, right? It's not everybody's thing. I don't mind waiting around for a trade to develop over the course of weeks or even months. Doesn't bother me. People I do know, however, who day trade, and some people I know are on 30-second charts, 128 tick charts. Being in a trade for 20 minutes is like for them, it gives them anxiety. Like, I'm still in this doggone trade. What am I doing? Like, can you do something? Like, it gives them anxiety to be in a trade for more than 10 to 20 minutes. And I'm like, I'm in trades for weeks. They're like, I don't know how you do that. So it's a personality based thing. And I think you do have to try things. I did. I tried day trading futures. I think you have to try things to see if it's for you or not. And that just was not for me. So that's my futures day trading story. Some of you have heard that before, but not all of you. Bennett, you threw another chart in here, so let's look at it. Yeah, so this is volume, which, by the way, volume is meaningless. Now, the ladder is supposed to show size, which is not only volume but also ideally it shows future potential volume, but that data can be manipulated. Now, trading volume can also be manipulated if it's done in a dark pool, which doesn't show up until the next day. But trading volume is filled orders, and filled orders do not move price. Right? Volume does not move price. Filled orders does not move the price of anything. So that's the one thing that, I mean, I don't even lean on volume for anything for that reason. Volume is something that's already happened. So if you had 100 million shares on the buy side and 100 million shares on the sell side, and it was all filled, that's a lot of volume. But if all the buyers and the sellers were able to fill their orders, where's price going to go? That's a question. If all their orders were filled, 100 million shares were the volume, buyers and sellers, they all agreed, where's price going to go if all the orders are filled? What do you think? And where the next buyer or seller is, or nowhere, because that represents equilibrium. The only time the price is going to move if there's a buyer or a seller that comes in that cannot get their entire order filled, right? So if everybody got their order filled, price can't move. If a new buyer comes in and says, I'm willing to buy 50 million shares, and a seller says, I'm willing to sell 10 million shares, I'm using big numbers here because volume, we're looking at big. Then the guy who wants to buy 50 million can only buy 10 million because there's a seller over there willing to sell 10 million, but the buyer still wants to buy 40 million shares. But there's no sellers there. So now where does price have to go? It has to go up and find more sellers willing to sell because this buyer wants to buy more than there is for sale. That's what causes price to move. So the 40 million shares that are unfilled is what moves price, not the 10 million that were filled. That's the difference between filled orders and unfilled orders. And volume only measures filled. It does not show you the unfilled. And it's the unfilled inventory that can be manipulated and hidden from public view. That's the part that we're most concerned about. Is where are the unfilled orders that cause price to actually move, turn in price, or accelerate to another level where there are more willing sellers or more willing buyers that can actually fill orders. And the market exists to fill orders. That's why you get price movement. The market exists to fill orders. So if you have orders that are sitting there unfilled, that's the only time price can move. And no one shows you that accurately, transparently. Charts can, right? Like if you look right here using your chart, why did prices move from here? First of all, why did prices stay in this area? I'm going to draw on your chart. I'm going to use a orange box. Why did prices stay right here, this window of time? Buyers and sellers, buyers and sellers, buyers and sellers, buyers and sellers, all getting their orders filled. Yeah, we're happy here. This is a fair price. I'll buy 20. I'll buy 30. I'll sell 20. I'll sell 30. Like, yeah, we're all happy right here. But then a big order came in somebody wanted to buy more than there was available for sale, all the sell orders went to zero, but there was a remaining stack of buy orders that caused price to move up. It's the only time price can move is when there's unfilled inventory out there. And or a dealer needs to hedge, which then, from that gamma or delta exposure, and this is Soundhound, right? So if there's a dealer exposure there on Soundhound, then the dealer's going to need to hedge that delta and gamma risk, which is not stock volume, that's option open interest. That's looking at a whole different data point. Does that make sense, Bennett? These are great questions, great inquiry. I'm also trying to like, yeah, so so where the next buyer is. So if a buyer wants to buy, but they can't buy all they want to buy at this price, then price has to move to where the nearest seller is, which is going to be higher. If a seller, if here we have another example. Buyers and sellers, everything is equal. How do we know that? Because price is staying the same, right? The only time price moves is because you have a supply-demand imbalance. And supply-demand imbalance is people who are willing to do something, buy or sell, but there's nobody on the other side of the trade that can fulfill that order at the price they want. So what happens? When there's too much for sale, prices go down until they're met with another area where there was equilibrium at one time, prices went up, and when prices go back down, it finds buyers, and then it goes back up. Now look, where the sellers were there again and pushed prices back down. Where were the buyers? Here. So when price got back down to the buyers were, prices went back up. And then it's only a matter of time before all these sellers up here fill all that they want, and then price is able to actually push through. It's all unfilled inventory Bennett. It's all looking for the unfilled inventory. So periods of equilibrium followed by a rally in price, which suggests unfilled demand for those shares. Price will generally try to come back down and find that demand, which would then cause price to turn and go back up. Price comes down again, fills more demand. Price comes back down, and the demand is getting smaller, smaller, and smaller, and eventually will push right through. And that's actually what happened right here. Notice how price stayed right here, and price stayed under that level, right? So price dropped, came back up, dropped again, came back up. Now we have equilibrium. Dropped a little bit, came up again. Now we have equilibrium, and all that supply that was keeping prices down, I almost spelled Slurpee. Supply that was keeping prices down was filled, and there was a greater amount of demand that pushed prices up. That's where you get the concept of old resistance should act as new support going forward. It's all based on unfilled inventory and supply and demand. Your point is that the average investor will not know the volume of unfilled orders. That's correct. We'll never know the true volume, or the true amount of orders that are unfilled. We don't get to see that. We don't get to see that. But you can anticipate how much inventory is unfilled by the aggression and speed at which price moves away from the period of equilibrium. Let me give you a pop quiz here, right? So equilibrium followed by this speed and aggression at which price moved down, right? Price came back to that area here. The speed at which price moved down, was it greater, more aggressive, or less aggressive? Less aggressive, which means less unfilled inventory. So when price finally gets back up there again, the next move down should be even less aggressive. You see how these moves are getting less aggressive? And then when all the aggression is gone, what happens? Price is able to move through. So while we don't know the actual number of shares that are outstanding as far as unfilled supplier demand, because again, this information over here can be easily manipulated. You can tell by the speed and aggression of which the market actually moves lower or higher. And also the distance that price moves, right? So the distance that price moved down here versus down here versus down here gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Therefore, less aggressive selling, more and more aggressive buying coming in. There is a buyer at every price level, but the quantity of buyers changes at every price. Yeah, and quantity is what drives price. Like if I had I'm trying to think of another example. Like if I had 100 iPhones sitting on my desk right now, 100 of them, and I'm like, I want $1,000 a piece for these things. But they can go to any store in the world and buy them for $1,000. There's no reason for them to buy them from me. They're just gonna buy them, and price is gonna stay $1,000. But what if every store in the world was out of iPhones, and I had 100 of them on my desk? But I have thousands of people willing to buy them from me, emailing me, calling me, texting me. I got 100 of them here, and nobody has any of them out there. I'm going to say, well, I mean, they were priced at 1,000. We buy them for 2,000, and then what's going to happen? Now the price just went way up because I have more supply. I have more available. I have 100 available, but I have more demand for the amount that I have. Right? And so it's everything is driven by supply. And the price of everything is driven by supply and demand. Think about it in even simpler terms. How much do you pay for a bottle of water at Costco? You can go to the vending machine at Costco and buy a bottle of water for how much? 25 cents. That's right, Carl. That same bottle of water at a 7-Eleven will cost you how much? $1.25. That same bottle of water at LAX airport, any airport in the world, will cost you how much? Or more, $5 or more, right? Yeah, supply demand. You can't get water anywhere else except here. I'm going to rape you on price, right? Costco has pallets of water. So yeah, 25 cents. We got plenty. You got plenty, right? Same thing. Same thing. And stocks are no different. Stocks are priced are priced based upon their level of demand or lack of demand. You could say it that way for whatever that thing is. Yeah. And stocks are very much traded behind a curtain when you have the veil of hide a certain portion of my order. It should be illegal, but it's not. It's not. And by the way, if you say to Goldman Sachs, "Hey, why are you trying to fool the public by hiding your orders?" Goldman Trader will say, "I'm not trying to fool the public. I don't really care about the public. They're not trading the size that we are. I don't want JP Morgan to see what we're trading. So we're hiding it from them." Which might be true, but it's also manipulating the perception that the average retail investor sees. Right? It's like it's like when a stock is upgraded and the stock drops like a rock. What do you think's going on there? A stock is upgraded and it drops. I'm trying to think of a stock that did that recently. Is it CF? Look at this. Just yesterday, over here, right? Hold on a second. Let's go back. So when did price start dropping? The 11th. So here we go. CF keeps quarterly dividend. Positive news. Declares quarterly dividend. 14th, raises price target from 100 to 90. That was on what day? This day. Hang on a second. RBC raises price target, and the stock does what? Goldman Sachs raises price target. Wells Fargo maintains overrate. Wells Fargo adjusts target to 108 from 105. So all these banks, all these analysts are upgrading the stock. Price target's much higher. And the stock does what? What is this news doing? It's influencing people to come in and do what with the stock? Retail investors. What is that influencing retail investors to do? And it doesn't even stop. UBS. Look at yeah, it influences people to buy. Why, as an institution, would you want to influence the masses to buy? Because you have shit to sell. It's marketing. That's all it is. It's marketing. And look what happened every day since almost, except for yesterday. Careful what you use to make your decisions because this is not illegal and it goes on every single day. It's marketing. Somebody has something you want to buy, they'll give you a reason to buy it because they have a reason to sell it. And so if they want to buy stocks at a lower price, all they got to do is convince people to buy it. Right? And then once prices dropping, and all the people that came in and bought on this upgrade and increase in price target, who bought on the 14th when they saw that news, sees the price go from 97 down to 92, they lost $5 a share in 3 days. What do you think they're doing with it? Well, that was terrible. Let me get out of it. At an area where they've been proven buyers. It's a game. It's a game. If you're not aware the game is even going, most people don't even know the game is even going on. Hence, the statement right on the front page. Wall Street is playing a game that most people don't even know exists. That's it. That's the game. Learn how to play it or be played. Ooh, that's a good tagline. I might add that. 4D chess. That's right, Bill. 4D chess. A Yale professor once said that option trading was trying to guess what the market wants you to do and doing the opposite. I mean, honestly, if you did the opposite of what you heard on the news, you'd probably make money more times than not. There's a whole thing on Quiver Quant that's like uh that tracks Jim Cramer's picks. It's called Opposite of Cramer. And that fund does better than you could imagine. Opposite of Cramer. I mean, he has a great platform, right? Just go on CNBC and tell people to buy stuff. Because you can't sell stuff unless you have people to buy it. Yep. And it's not contrarian. It's contrarian to maybe your neighbors and your friends and your family, but it's not contrarian if you know how the game is played, right? So that's it. Learn how to play the game or be played. I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that. All right. This has been awesome. I mean, we went over a little bit, but that's okay. I enjoy talking with you guys. He builds positions by front running. Maybe. Maybe he does that. I'm not sure how legal or illegal that is, but I wouldn't doubt it. But I also wouldn't doubt that even deeper, he's probably being greased to do certain things on the side for other institutions that are actually doing the trading, right? Man, Ozzy this week, man, that was a big one. And then Hulk Hogan today, another big one. But yeah, man, Ozzy was a big, big one. I've seen, you know what's interesting? And then we'll land this plane. For being the Prince of Darkness, he brought a lot of light to this world. And you can see that if you look at your social media feeds, if you're on Instagram or TikTok or whatever you're on. I mean, there is so much light that he brought to the world for being the Prince of Darkness. And you know what else is crazy? I haven't seen anything politically charged in any of my feeds. There's no Republican, Democrat, left, right. There's none of that. Everyone is seemingly talking about Ozzy Osbourne, which shows you how much of a influence he had on so many generations. Yeah, Ozzy's reality show is completely different to his music image. That's exactly right. Right? Yeah, well, I mean, his music, I mean, I get it, Bill. I mean, I've never cared for his music, but going back over it now, wish I'd pay more attention. Yeah, that's his legacy. It's out there. It'll never go away. I mean, that's what art and music is, right? It's if you can impact people in any way, that his music will live on in people's hearts forever. And unfortunately, people have to die, and then the public exposes just how meaningful that person was to a lot of people's lives. And then you're like, I missed out on something, but I'm going to go back and check that out. And then you'll start to hear the music and the lyrics and the intent a little bit differently than you would have maybe in the moment, because you see the image in the moment, and then you go back and listen to it, and you know what the Meet the Osbournes or whatever, that I think that was called, Meet the Osbournes, right? And just how much of a gift he was to the world from a human perspective. Um, and then you start to see, wait a second. Yeah, I mean, he was actually he was actually a lot more light than he was dark. It's a persona. Chuck Mangione? Oh yeah, I didn't know that. Good jazz. Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't see that. Yeah. Somebody watch out for Phil Collins. He's not in good shape either. Bruce Willis. Gosh, man, those guys are in rough shape too. It's tough, man. It is a period of time where, a generation who grew up with all these people. Um, yeah, these are some tough ones. But Ozzy Osbourne is back jamming with Randy Rhoads, who also died at way too young of an age. All of our friends we grew up with are leaving us. Well, yeah, but I mean, you watch these guys suffer too, and they're in a better place. They're in a good spot. We'll see them again. We'll see them again. And if you didn't catch, by the way, the Back to the Beginning concert that they threw a couple weeks ago here over in Birmingham, Black Sabbath, Ozzy performed. A whole bunch of people came out, tribute to Ozzy and Black Sabbath. If you didn't watch that, you could live stream it. We bought it. It was like $30. We watched it all day. We sat there. I mean, 8 hours, 9 hours, just band after band and tribute after tribute. And then Ozzy came on, and then Black Sabbath came on. I mean, there was some very moving moments when you look back and you hear him singing and the look on his face, and he tried to get up from out of his chair, his throne, a couple times, but he was strapped down to it. Like they had to strap him down because they were afraid he was going to try and get up and walk. You could see him trying to get up a couple times, but yeah, if you catch a chance to watch any of that stuff, especially the Ozzy Black Sabbath stuff. I mean, some of the other stuff is really, I mean, all the other stuff is really great if you're into music and live music particularly, but um, yeah, the Ozzy and the Black Sabbath stuff at the end was like, not many people get to go out that way, which was, I thought, really special. So he knew it was only a matter of time, but he knew, and I'm glad he made it. Um, so Yeah, man. Tough week as far as that goes. So, but we were blessed to live in a time where we had Ozzy Osbourne, Eddie Van Halen, come on, Randy Rhoads, um, I mean, Freddie Mercury. I mean, yeah, I mean, people die at young age. I mean, we literally lived through. I'm not. Yeah, I agree with you, Bill. The best years in music. We still have two Beatles, right? Yeah, I've seen Ozzy a couple times live. It was probably very hard for him to be strapped to that chair, but yeah. Where are all the bands now? Well, we're still trying, Trader Bill. We're still trying. We're still making music, but some make a bigger impact than others. So, and he made a big one. Well, he had Parkinson's and he couldn't really walk, right? That was his thing, right? So, but his spirit, he knew, and the producers of the show knew that he was going to probably try and get out of that chair. And if he tries to get out of that chair, he's going down. And never mind, I mean, he could hurt himself, number one, but never mind that. Just that's not how someone wants to, go out. Is I tried to stand up and I fell flat on my face in front of, 80,000 people or however many people were in that venue. But yeah, they knew he was going to try and get up. And he did. You could see it. You could see him trying to, and then he remembered, oh shit, I'm strapped down. Probably a good thing. Yeah, I don't think he could walk really very much. And if he tried, like my mother-in-law has Parkinson's, 25, 26 years now. She falls. She fell two times yesterday, right? So, and she's not as in bad shape as he was. So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you've never been on stage as a performer, and I'm a drummer, so obviously I have to sit down. Um, but even I stand up, like after songs, right? After big outros, things like that. But as a singer, and he was always across the stage, walking back and forth and back and forth, and this side and this side and this side and this side, meeting with his band. And so there's an energy, there's something that does come over you. There's a spirit that comes into you that's just like if you've done that your whole life, literally his whole life, um, it's impossible to just sit there free will. Impossible. So if you watch it, you'll see it. And if you ever watch any old footage of Ozzy, you know how much he was active on stage. So yeah, it's a safety precaution for sure. I see it. Yeah, Live Nation and Ticketmaster can go to hell. Buddy of mine plays drums for Lady Gaga right now, and we were going to go out and see them in Vegas last week, and floor tickets ranged from $3,200 to $8,000. Um, and we got friends and family from him through him, and even our tickets for friends and family were $500, $600. Nosebleeds were 400, 300, 400. And we were like, I don't think that makes a lot of sense. So we did not go to that. Yeah. Yeah. Last I paid to see the Stones in Charlotte, two tickets, 3,500. Yeah. And that's all their deals with Ticketmaster, Live Nation. They've got these deals, man. And what's crazy is those stadiums and arenas are full. I mean, I paid $320 or something like that to see I mean, I've seen Metallica a bunch. Big fan of that genre of music and that band specifically. But when they came through not Orlando, Los Angeles at SoFi last summer or whatever it was. Yeah, I paid $350, $320, something like that. But that was for two nights on the floor. Like that's that's how it should be. Do you know what I mean? So, but it's also you don't make music like you used to make money on the music. you don't make money on the music anymore because Spotify and iTunes, Apple Music and um yeah, you don't make money on music, so you got to find a way to make money somewhere else. And so Ticketmaster and Live Nation, they call the shots. Merch is expensive because that's how the band makes money. Yeah, $40 Billy Idol and Joan Jett, level two seats. Yeah, that's much better. That's much better. So yeah, even my son, my oldest son, he's 18, he just turned 18. He plays in John Bonham's. So John Bonham, son Jason Bonham, and then Jason Bonham has a son, Jagger Bonham, and my son plays for Jagger Bonham's band. And they tour with Jason Bonham's Led Zeppelin experience from time to time. They have a show tomorrow night at House of Blues, not with Jason Bonham, but when Jason Bonham's band and my son's and his son's band, who my son is in his band, um, they were at the Greek Theater last month, 2 months ago, maybe 6, 8 weeks ago, something like that. Greek Theater here in LA. Yeah, floor seats are $280. I'm like, gosh, not even for, I mean, they sound as close to Led Zeppelin as you will ever hear um and see. Um, but but yeah, even those tickets are just outrageous. But luckily my kid plays for the band, so so we get in. Do I teach my kids to trade? My oldest is starting to get an interest in it, right? He's starting to have an interest in it. So he's just now starting to learn. My youngest, he's 16, he couldn't care less. But well, it's not free money, but yeah, it's free money if you know what you're doing. It's not free, but I mean you have to have an interest in it. Otherwise, you're just gonna half-ass it. Right. So, I funded an account. He wanted to put some money into an account. I was like, hey, whatever money you want to put into the account, I'll match it. Let's do it. I'll start showing you what charts are. And I've got courses for days. I've got hours and hours. And he starts watching the courses and he's on his phone scrolling. I'm like, are you watching the course or are you scrolling? Like, this is kind of important if you want to trade. And he's like, yeah, I don't know. So I'm like, yeah, one day. If you're broke enough, you'll learn. And musicians, we were sometimes we're broke enough. That's why I was so hungry. I was almost 30 years old. Actually, yeah, just turned 30 almost. And I was like, I can't stand not having any money. And my wife is making all the money and I'm like, I gotta figure something out. So that's when I got into trading. I was desperate, that desperate. I was hungry and I took it seriously. He's not hungry. He still lives with us. He's not hungry. So when you're hungry enough, you do what you have to do. So, but he's off to a good start in the music business. So they both been playing in bands and in clubs. My youngest, he was in a booster seat driving to they were playing like they did a show at the Viper Room in LA. They played at the Rainbow Room in LA off Sunset. And my son was in a booster seat. Got out of the car, played his set, got back in the booster seat, and sucking his thumb on the way home. That's how long I mean, they've been playing music literally their whole lives. And so that's what they want to do for a living, and they're pretty well connected. We're all pretty well connected here in LA for that. So we're going to try to set them up best we can, which I didn't have living in Orlando playing music. I was not well connected. So just like anything, it's who you know, not how good you are. Yeah, man, it's hard. The music is just a marketing tool anymore. That's it. Yeah, the music is just a marketing tool to sell the things that people will pay good money for because you don't have to pay for music anymore. Not really. You don't have to. Some people do. 35 cents a day, Neil Diamond. Yeah, that's, I don't know how you do that, but sleeps on a lot of couches, I guess. Eats a lot of scraps. But yeah, we could talk about music for days. So, but yeah, man, I always love these conversations. So I appreciate you guys being here and yeah, let's go do let's go do the rest of the week, shall we? So we do this every 2 weeks. Stocks on the rocks. Let's hang out. If you're not a member of Traders Army, shameless plug, here we go. You can become a Traders Army member. What we do, memberships. We have a free membership, which, free only gets you so far, but we have a lot of platform tutorials for that. $49 a month will get you all of our access to all of our on-demand content. If you want to interact daily with us like this in our live trading rooms, pro membership, $149 a month. And I will say this, if you want and you are not a member yet and it's your first month, use the promo code TRADER60 and that'll get you 60% off your first month. Then every month after that, $149. Now, we have a promotion going on right now until August 1st for new members. Summer 50 will get you 50% off 6 months. And that is $450 up front. And then after 6 months goes by, it then converts to $149 a month. Right. So new members always have some sort of a deal. Right. And so we do offer that. So Trader 60 1 month, you want to give it a shot. But Summer 50, to your point, Thomasina, up until August 1st, Summer 50 will get you 50% off upfront, $450. So that's $75 a month paid upfront, and then you don't get any reoccurring cost until the seventh month, and then it's $149 a month. So yeah, man. So check it out, Thomasina. We'll look forward to it. And that gets you access to all of our live stuff, options deconstructed series, wealth ascent, all of our model portfolios and daily trading rooms and all that kind of stuff. So it's a little bump in subscription cost, but you get a ridiculous amount of value. What is that, $5 a day? Come on. My son spends more than that in Starbucks. So I'm sure plenty of you do too. So join us. There it is right there. Actually, there's the button right there. I don't even have to say it. It's right there. So just don't forget to type in the promo code Summer50. All right. If you want to do the half a year, basically through the end of the year. So that's my shameless plug of the night. I won't say any more about it, but it's been a pleasure hanging out with you guys tonight. Now, have a great weekend, and I will see you guys in a couple of weeks in Stocks on the Rocks. I'll see you guys in the trading room on Monday. Actually, Tuesday. I'm gonna make an adjustment on that, like we talked about in the trading room this morning. So I'll see you guys on Tuesday. You'll see Herman on Sunday night. You'll see Herman on Tuesday morning as well. So on Monday and Tuesday morning as well. So see you then, guys. All right. Have a great weekend. Rock on.